Welcome back to Serving Up Success with a Splash. As always, Bruce Cramer, your corporate cockroach. And I have with me my brilliant co-hosts,
Angie Snowball, the Renaissance woman.
And I'm Dr. D, and I'll be doing some strategy.
And as you know, this is kind of part two of this conversation we're having around the leadership pipeline crisis that nobody's actually talking about. Well, what do I mean by that? If you haven't seen our first full episode, what I mean by that is AI is replacing a lot of entry-level positions, which in the past really helped groom leadership skills for those folks that wanted to get into those leadership roles. So with that gone, it's taking that natural progression and making it a lot more difficult. Because we all know, and I'm going to dive into this first topic, that leadership is learned. It is certainly not downloaded or automated. So when you think about experience, that's really what grooms the following leadership skills: good judgment, good communication skills, conflict resolution, decision making, and a very important one that we've covered in a few, emotional intelligence. If you're not able to start out into some of these entry-level tasks, you're not going to have the opportunity to really groom these to the level you need to be successful. And quite frankly, it helps in terms of your confidence, teamwork, and makes you a better problem solver. But again, these skills are difficult to teach without real world exposure.
Unless you listen to our podcast, because we teach it and it doesn't suck. Or you can work with us.
Yeah.
You're safe on this podcast, everybody.
Yes, you're safe. And we're not jipping you out a cocktail. Just so you know, we're still drinking this, but if you check the YouTube, you'll still find a new cocktail recipe as promised. This one will be the cherry bomb. So important stuff first, Bruce. You skipped it.
My God. So one of the key teaching kind of tools out there around this is the 70-20-10 leadership model. And it's steeped in a lot of research. And it basically says that 70% of our development comes through challenging experiences. 20% comes through coaching and mentoring. Only 10% is through formal training.
Amen.
And so again, with AI automating a lot of things, sometimes we have to really, how can I say this, purposely really seek out those challenging experiences.
Well, especially, it doesn't challenge us. It's doing everything for us.
And the other tool that I want to mention quick, and then we're going to get into conversations, is the Dunning-Kruger Effect, which basically says people with limited experience, and remember, experience remains one of the most valuable leadership development tools. So again, people with limited experience often overestimate their abilities, and that can be devastating for an organization or your team. While experienced level leaders have a much greater understanding of some of those skills we just discussed, as well as complexity. So with that, Angie, I'm coming to you.
Ready.
What leadership lessons can only be learned through real responsibility as a leader?
First of all, when you do this, I feel like I'm on a quiz show. They're like, Angie, coming to you.
10 points available, Angie, for this question. There's 10 points.
Yeah. Okay, good. 10 points. Okay, good. We're still low.
Get a car. Okay.
I can't wait to get a car. So leadership things we only learn through experience. Well, I think one of the things that you learn as a leader is that the best leaders are the people who don't start out to become a leader. The best leaders, and I think when people want to be a leader, they go and they get that 10% of training. They go get that piece, and then they expect to be the leader. They do exactly what you said, Bruce. They overestimate their skills. What was that guy's name? Dunn-Kruger, whatever he said.
Dunning-Kruger.
Okay, totally wrong. I got the D and the K right. Could have been Donna Care in New York for all I care. Anyway, that really smart guy. I totally believe in that people overestimate their abilities because they got that 10% training and they think they're going to be a leader. I worked for a lot of these people, right? And then you see the guy from the shop floor that had been running the gears for 30 years and said, excuse me, sir, that doesn't work. The machine doesn't do that, and he's like, oh, and his whole leadership world is blown. His whole 2-year project blown because he didn't know what he was talking about. So I think that's something that we're going to find that when to get the real leadership abilities, the things you miss are listening. You need to be out there and listen to people so that you can learn. And then you can lead, because you can't lead before you listen and you learn. And that is what I think people are starting to miss, is that listening piece and that learning piece. Because as Bruce said, and Nawtej said before, you have to have this experience and this knowledge in order to be able, because leading is guiding, and you can't guide something you don't know. So that's where I think we're missing.
And I'm going to cut in before I cut over to Dr. D, but I loved what you just said. You really need to understand what it is you're leading. So I go back, because I'm old, I go back to, remember when the calculator came out? And when you were in class, math class, you could use your calculator and pretty much ace everything. But what did they make us do? They made us write out the equations. So we had the context. We had a deep understanding how that calculator was creating the answer. And that level of understanding is far more valuable than I just push these keys and I get the answer. I think that's a simple example. I hope I'm not.
No, and I think it makes, like, that's a great example, because you make it feels real.
Great example.
Yeah. And that's kind of the dichotomy we're facing now. But Dr. D, why does experience...
Hold on. I think Angie
15 points.
Okay.
15 points to Angie. Angie, you wanted to say something. You were...
No, I was just going to say...
really good, so I want to come back to it.
Well, I just thought when he was saying, like, when you learn what happens behind it, it feels real. Like, and in a world of AI, everything's just becoming so magical and intangible. I think it's even more important now than ever to feel real. I know when I started in automotive, I was in project management stuff, and I was like, guys, I don't care if you're making candy bars back there. It doesn't matter to me. You got to have this on time, which is true. That is my job. But once I did begin to understand what was involved in making a transmission, I was able to fast forward. I was able to jump through some things and say, you know what, they can't do this because it's not feasible. You need 3 days to make that happen. So we can't do this plan. So it saved time. And I just eventually became a better leader because I knew more about it. And that's how I gradually advanced, because it was real. And that's why I like the calculator example. Okay, now I'll stop talking.
Well, it makes you more effective at applying whatever it is you know.
Yes.
If you have that deep understanding. And I think that's what's happening with AI. It's being misapplied in a lot of cases because you don't have that deep understanding that would allow you to apply it correctly. Dr. D, he had a mic drop in our last episode. Yes, if you're a well-oiled attorney, you can ask, you'll use the right prompts and really exploit AI. But if you don't know anything about law and you start putting in prompts around AI, you could be in grave danger. Dr. D, why does experience create judgment in ways training alone can't?
So, great question. Love the question. And I think here's two things for me. The first thing you said from me, first thing when you opened, you said something like people with limited experience overestimate their abilities. Okay, so The first answer is experience create judgment. Or why does experience create judgment? It's because you stop overestimating your abilities, and not overestimating your own abilities is good judgment, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
It is. It
it's
is.
common sense, but hard
It's
easy
very
to
obvious.
miss.
But there's a second element, I think, and that is, and I'm going to use you two to describe this. You know, I come across people who have they believe what they say, and it ties in with that point about limited experience, and they believe what they think and what they say. They can't detect bias in themselves or others. So they believe stuff which just isn't real. And
So many idiots out there.
you two are so good at detecting bias in yourselves. You know, when I say bias, I mean poor conclusions. I don't mean bias as in bigotry. I mean poor conclusions. But bias is poor conclusions, coming to the wrong conclusion. So the question is about, well, what are the things that you can get out of really doing things? Well, you get closer to doing better assumptions, better conclusions, rather than biased conclusions. The more you do, the more stuff you do, the more you input. And I'm using you two as an example here because it really is a genuine pleasure working with you guys, because you're so good at not coming to the wrong conclusion. You're so good at detecting bias, but you still challenge yourselves all the time anyway.
Well, I'm afraid to be an idiot, to be perfectly honest. I see idiots every day. I'm like, I don't want to be that person.
I'll pay you later.
Yeah, no, Bruce, I need a transfer. That I don't want cash. I want to be paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah, dollars mean nothing over there.
It's the answer really is, it's just simple. You just get better at making. I want to say it this way. I'm going to say it in the way Bruce might has said it in the past. You just make fewer crap conclusions.
And that's such a good point, Nawtej, because I think experience is exactly what teaches you not to make crap conclusions. Because like you said, I mean, I remember when I first moved to Europe, Procter & Gamble, wonderful place, but they put me through a culture course, which is very funny. So I went there and I expected every single Belgian to be this way, every single Spaniard to be this way, every Brit was going to be like this. And I went over there and I met the most non-British Brit you'll ever meet in your life. Was the first person that I met. And it was the first thing that said to me, you always need to challenge. Nothing is going to be 100%. And you must always think, because had I not experienced this person, that would have screwed up so many relationships with me running around thinking I know British culture because I had an hour class on it before I moved. Therefore, I know what you think and how you do things, so you must listen to me. But that's in some ways what that tiny bit of information made us feel. And then I went and I had the experience. I was like, oh boy, that is a guideline. That is an idea. And it is something for me to learn from. It is not something I learned. I think that's very important. Good point.
All right.
20
so
points.
I think I have one big question before we end this episode. And we'll be coming back with a part 3 with Dr. D. But one big question, and I promise I will answer it as well. But to you, Dr. D, first, what's the biggest lesson you've learned that nobody could have taught you in a classroom?
This one's for the car.
This one's for the car. Okay. First, tell me about the car. Is it a hatchback or a sports car?
For that question, it better be a damn Porsche.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'll take the question. What's the? Oh God, too many things. But you know, the one thing I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about this in the next episode as well. Empathy.
Oh, that's really good.
Damn you.
Yeah.
How about you, Angie?
I'm going to go down that line. Emotional intelligence is the most important part of being a leader. I believe that, because I believe all the other skills that you get from a leader start from having a good sense of all the pieces of emotional intelligence, like empathy and things like that. That's what I learned. All the leadership courses that I took, which are old, they do leadership courses now in EQ and PQ. But when I took them, they didn't really cover the most important pieces. They were more mechanical. And the reality is, leading is about making people follow. And people don't want to follow you if you don't care about them and you're not listening to them and hearing them. So to me, that was the most important thing I learned.
And you know what? My answer is definitely in parallel to both your responses. And I'll sum it up by saying my biggest lesson: logic is not enough when managing people. You really need to understand, learn who they are, understand their backgrounds and their way of thinking, because it all adds to success. And there is no such thing. We hear all the time, common sense. Well, you could ask the three of us, based on common sense, what's your response? And you could get three different answers based on our backgrounds, our experiences, our successes, our failures. And so,
US.
yeah. And I also had a professor tell me that early on, and it always stuck with me, but I've learned that the hard way. Logic is not enough when managing people. So with that, everyone, cheers! Hit that like button, subscribe.
Cheers, guys.
We love you. We'll see you next episode.